It's like the kerfuffle over John Mozeliak telling reporters, and really there were two at the time, Derek Gould and John Denton. That's why we make sure to have them on once a week, because they be the people when it comes to covering the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where John Mozeliak talked about, to go back to the quote, I think we have to be prudent on how we think through some of this, but I definitely think the type of payroll we were going to have last year before the trades will look very similar this year. I got to be honest. I don't want to be a phony. My initial reaction to that was like, "Whoa, what is he doing here? Is he kind of walking backwards now, or talking backwards? You know, is he backtracking on at least the perception that they were going to be really aggressive in free agency and to fix their pitching issues and bullpen issues for that matter? Is this kind of setting people up to lower their expectations?" So I was a little concerned about it, but after doing a little more homework on that and also talking to Derek on and off the air, I don't think it's the big stink bomb that I initially thought, because what Mo didn't explain is that the Cardinals, the figures vary, but based on, like Adam Wainwright's contracts off the book, there are other ones off the book, but they also have to account for what they're going to pay players in arbitration and all that. But they're going to be somewhere between 40 and 50 million under where they were at the close of business in 2023 in terms of the payroll. That's actually a lot of room. It's a lot of wiggle room for you. So I think his point was, before the trade deadline, we were at this level. And that level, by the way, I talked about it on the show a lot, but I was talking about the 40-man competitive balance, payroll tax. Too long of a title. CBT. They actually did hit $200 million with that, and they were like $173 million on the $26 million one. So they can do pretty much what they need to do within the parameters of where they were last year. Now, that said, I'm not sitting here saying, well, that's okay. They don't have to increase the payroll. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is this idea that, they're kind of fastened in on something and there's not a lot of wiggle room because they won't raise the payroll. That part's wrong. They have a lot of wiggle room, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have a lot of real estate there, and they can get stuff done with that. And I think people, all of us peoples, have to also realize a couple of things. And number one, I think trades are going to be more of a factor than I would have imagined. See, everyone's like free agent, free agent, free agent, free agent, free agent, And it's like, how many good free agent starting pitchers are there? And unfortunately, you got all these teams lining up, and some of these prices are going to be absurd. Cardinals need to get one of these guys. But I have talked about this quite a few times, never at any length, but this notion that, if he's talking about 3 starting pitchers bringing in, the notion that they're all going to be like of the highest quality, I think is kind of naive and frankly kind of dopey.
I agree 100% with you on that one.
Because the market would really not make that possible. And oh, by the way, as I like to always remind people, including myself, when you're a free agent, you get to decide where you want to go. So, well, what? I've been through this so many times with some Cardinals fans. Well, why didn't they go get this guy? They should have got him. I said, well, he had to say where he wants to go, right?
Absolutely true.
So the Cardinals are coming off a 2023 season, which was their fourth worst since 1947, with kind of a young manager, and and there's not a lot of sizzle there. There's a lot of concerns about the commitment to winning. There's a lot of concerns about a lot of things. I mean, the Cardinals are not exactly top of the list, king of the hill when it comes to, oh man, that's the destination right there. If Aaron Nola even hits free agency, people are going to be throwing money at him like crazy. Do we know where he wants to live? Do we know what kind of the situation he wants? Do we know that? Sonny Gray, 34 years old, but as Joe Sheehan pointed out, he's going to be getting away from a really advanced pitching program in Minnesota that made him much better. Now he can bring what he learned here, but are the Cardinals going to be able to provide the same kind of support? I don't know. I think that's what ultimately Dusty Blake's role is going to be about, and I certainly think he needs more than a year. Well, actually, he was on staff in 2022 as well. You don't just like develop and cultivate a pitching program along the lines of what Tampa Bay has and Minnesota has, some other teams. You don't do that in like one off season, and I mean, it's pretty elaborate. And because the Cardinals were so negligent for so long, and they've fallen behind the times so much. Their work in putting this pitching program together is much more difficult than it should have been because of their neglect. So if we want to make, including me, if we want to make for some reason Dusty Blake the target of our jokes, we want to make him the guy to blame. I think that's garbage. We can make fun of him because bottom line's bottom line. You don't pitch well, and he was looking at his iPad. I don't have a problem making fun of him, but the idea that, like, oh, this is all on him. No. They brought him in for maybe even a higher purpose, but this is going to take some time, and it ain't going to be easy. You don't get to a pitching development level that you see in Tampa Bay and you see in some other places. You don't get there in like 2 months or even 2 seasons. It's going to take time to cultivate. You also got to coordinate it with everybody in your minor leagues, including the instructors, including the coaches. You got to build what they call a pitching lab. I mean, it's just amazing how they let all this stuff go, and they didn't tend to business, and this makes it excruciatingly difficult for a Dusty Blake or whoever the person would be. Take the name Dusty Blake out of it. I'm talking about anybody that would have that responsibility. That's an enormous job right now. So my point of bringing that up, players now, especially pitchers, I think they like, because unlike like older fans and media, players are highly motivated to get as much help as they can, and you can get as sophisticated as you want if you go to a team and they have these much more elaborate things in place for your benefit. There was a time where, maybe an old school pitcher would snort, mutter some 4-letter words. I ain't doing that stuff. And think about this. Think about how incredibly stupid that is. All the money that people they're backing up Brinks trucks to give the starting pitchers, guys that, guys that not too long ago would be considered like number 3 starters. And, you're talking about some of these guys that are the top free agents, getting $25, $30 million a year. So, yeah, Sonny Gray at age 34, He not only is okay with this stuff, he loves this stuff, and he embraces this stuff, and he wants this stuff because he saw what it did for him in Minnesota with the pitching program they had in place. So this idea that, oh, well, that stuff, the pitchers aren't used to that, all this gobbledygook. Yeah, they are, because they're seeing what the guy on that team and that free agent and the guy last winter and the guy 2 winters ago, They're seeing the kind of money that they are pulling in. So for anyone to think, well, this is all this gobbledygook nerd stuff, ain't nobody interested in that. Oh, really? Could be the difference between, them making $5 million a year, which is a lot, but that's not the point either. $5-7 million a year, and say maybe $22 million a year. So yeah, I think they're interested in it. So the Cardinals got to get up to speed. That's where they are. I just wonder, because again, these guys get to decide. If we're talking about Nola, we're talking about Gray, we're talking about Yamamoto, we're talking about Snell. And there's a few other guys as well, but those are the prime guys. They get to decide, and they're going to have teams lined up to overpay them. And it may come down to geography, where they want to live. Hey, Derek Gould has written it a couple times, mentioned it. Sonny Gray lives in Nashville. His family, they're based in Nashville. Well, it's pretty close from here.
Yeah.
So is Atlanta. And then it comes down to the money. Do you take the most money, or is fit and geography, region, location? How much does that factor into it? So I don't know. It's not a cut and dried process, and I don't even know the highest bid will get a guy if it's close. He may want to go somewhere where he perceives, especially, Nola's 30, 31. And again, I still am very skeptical that he'll leave Philadelphia. Because listen, they're going to try to get him re-signed, but we'll see. I don't know if the money's close. I don't know. Tell me where the Cardinals' advantage would be in recruiting any of these top-name guys. And if your answer is, well, you got to offer him the biggest contract. Okay, I get what you're saying in principle, but again, if you offer him the biggest contract, the New York Mets need 3 starting pitchers. Just giving you one example. The Dodgers need 2 starting pitchers. There's other teams I could name, but let's just stay with them for a minute. The owner of the Mets has shown he'll spend whatever it takes to get what he wants. Verlander, Scherzer. In fact, he's so confident that he'll be able to still get what he wants. It's like, yeah, I'll trade. Well, let's trade these guys. I'll go buy a couple other ones next winter. So if you say, well, the Cardinals got to offer more money. So if Steve Cohen's determined to put his billions of dollars out there, a big percentage of it, and just say, I don't care. That's what I bought the team for. I want to get the best pitchers. I want to win. I want to win pennants. I want to win a World Series. You going to outbid him? No, you're not. Okay. Not if he's determined. You think you're going to outbid the Dodgers if they're determined to get a guy that you also want? So, well, Bernie, you got to pay him the most. Okay, they pay him the most, and then the Dodgers or the Mets, they're like, okay, then we'll give you this. And at some point, everybody gets off the amusement park ride. You reach a certain level, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go back to earth here and walk away from the ride. And people underestimate, again, the human factor. But where are the Cardinals in terms of their appeal right now to free agents that are going to have many, many, many fine choices? We got to kind of square up the reality on that one. And my point with all of this is to just say there are other good pitchers out there. There are trades, of course. There are other good pitchers out there that aren't part of that big group of 4 or 5 that actually would help the Cardinals. And you know why they would help the Cardinals? Because they need strength in numbers. They don't need just a number 2 starter or whatever number you want to put on. They need one of those guys for sure. The idea of getting 2, I think, is really incredibly naive. They can get the second one through a trade, though. I'm talking about free agents. But if they spend big money to get one guy, they make a trade that might be uncomfortable to make to get the second top of the rotation guy. There are other people out there to be signed that will cost you less money. I'm not even saying they're being cheap. And if you go get them, and they get enough of depth, which was their number one, fall down factor last year. If they go with volume, like if they don't get exactly who they want, then you flood the zone. You get volume because this team needs both things. It's not a choice, either or. You need to strengthen the top of the rotation, but you need volume. You need more guys. You need several more dudes. You need to fix the bullpen. So I don't know why, any people would assume that this means, well, we need a closer. So okay, well here's how I see it. You go get Yamamoto. You get Sonny Gray. You get Nola. Okay, you got your starters all set up now, and you trade everybody. Get Logan Gilbert.
That's 4 starters.
It's like, and then you go whatever it takes. You get Hader. It ain't gonna work like that. Okay. And so if the Cardinals go somewhere down lower on the list to add a pitcher or 2 or 3, reliever, starter, swingman, whatever, and that gives them the kind of depth that they could have only begged for this past season, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm realistic. Now, if they come out of this thing, so Dane Perry anyway, and I know I'm going on and on and on, Dane Perry said something in his Birdie Work blog today that I said on the show yesterday, but I'm going to read him. He's talking about. He said there's a helpful, and this is what I said yesterday. But here's Dane Perry. There's a helpful principle here for the taking. Don't worry about it. Actions trump words in this life, and that's the case here. Before the 2024 season arrives, we will know whether the Cardinals' level of commitment matches their claims. And in the interim, no amount of hand-wringing over how to parse Mozeliak's words about payroll and divine which of the many splendid definitions of payroll he's talking about again. Is it 26? Is it 40? None of that will change the reality. If the front of the rotation winds up populated by half measures, then that will be the time for righteous indignation. He used a fancier word, but I'm going to stick with one I know. Until then, let's allow actual events to inform our reactions. Exactly. Do I have concerns that there's going to be a bait and switch here? Yeah, I do. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to condemn them in advance before I even know what they're going to do? Because I didn't like a quote? So what? Do you want me to order tanks to roll down to Busch Stadium? I don't understand what people want you to do before they've even made a move. As Dane says, as I say, we're going to know soon enough whether they really committed to rebuilding this pitching staff in a way that matters and will make a huge difference. We will have our answer soon enough. We don't have to go totally bananas with insanity before we know what it's going to look like at the end of free agency. And if they cop out and they don't do anything dramatic, then we all can raise hell. But my point is, why in the world are people thinking that every guy they bring in's got to be top of the heap? It's just not going to work out that way. They'll probably go for someone that's a reclamation project. Cyrus at Fangraphs read this morning. Yep. He said, here's some free agents that are over. By the way, there's no baseball analysts anywhere. I'm talking about writers.
Right.
There's no one that writes for a living about pitching that knows more about pitching than Eno Saris of Fangraphs, or actually The Athletic. One of the guys he talked about, and I wouldn't have given him even a second look, but if Eno says, here's a guy, he could actually get back, he could actually be rehabilitated, so to speak. There's enough like shape and velocity, and he just needs to sort of fine-tune everything and get, just get consistent, and this is what you got to do, and this pitch will get a lot better, and that pitch will get a lot better, and you'll get more confidence, and you'll pitch the way you're capable of pitching. He said Luis Severino. Now, again, I know.
Yeah.
I know all the, all of the Hub Kittles out there. It's like, the point is, you can pull off a successful reclamation project. It happens all the damn time. You know who another one is? Before Michael Wacha went to Boston, you know what he was considered? And then he went on to San Diego. You know what he was considered? To use one of my favorite expressions, he was considered burnt pie.
Yes, he was.
He was burnt pie, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Now, he ain't going to give you 200 innings, but he's a hell of a pitcher. So what if the Cardinals thought, we've increased our depth. We got a number of guys, so now we've got good backup. We've got many options. So if you thought that Michael Wacha could come in here and pitch as well as he's had, except, you got to count on 140 innings. Don't be thinking it's 1968.
No.
Right? Those would be 140 valuable innings, high-quality innings. So do you sneer at that? Do you spit on that? Or do you realize that that's something that other teams will be looking at too? He's not everything you want, but, man, he does a lot of good things. And if an Eno Saris, and I know you never heard of him, so you don't care, if he identifies a guy as a reclamation project, I am immediately more interested in that guy. And he said Severino's got just about everything there that can make him a good pitcher again, like as soon as 2024. So I don't know. The Cardinals are going to have to put this puzzle together in a lot of ways. It's not going to be all through free agents, it's not going to be all expensive free agents. It's not going to be all big-time trades, right?
No.
It's not going to be, we're going to get the biggest, best pitchers out of Japan and Korea, and we'll see if there's somebody over there in Beijing. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, one or two guys from Category A, and then we're going to go to Category B for another guy. We're going to take a flyer on a reclamation. We're going to go out and get a big-time strikeout reliever. We're going to sign this starter and this starter because we want depth. And I tell you another thing that I don't want to hear, and this is not a new thing. If you draft a guy in the first round and you finally realized, because you were stupid before, you realized that he's supposed to be a starting pitcher. And when you finally said, man, you're going to be a starting pitcher, the guy pitched damn great, damn well. Zach Thompson. You bring up Zach Thompson, and it's just like, oh, see, they're not interested in getting better. Zach Thompson. You invested first-round money in Zach Thompson, and you screwed him up because you were dumb. But if you decided he's a starting pitcher and you gave him the ball finally to serve in that role, he had one clunker start that I can recall, and it was late, and it happened. That guy pitched great. And so I get tired of this kind of stuff. When I bring up Zach Thompson, if he is worthy of being a number 5 starter, why in the hell would anyone object to that? What would be the basis to reject that outright without even thinking about it? what do you expect for a number 5 starter? What is it that you really think about a number 5 starter when you're spending all this money, if they do, on the top of the rotation guy, or they're making a major trade that's going to hurt because they have to give up somebody they really don't want to give up? So you should just automatically dismiss and exclude a young pitcher that's unlike Matthew Libator, the guy they traded for, a young pitcher like Zach Thompson they drafted, and they failed to develop properly, but he's ready now. He appears, by all indication, he is ready. They changed some pitches for him. They actually helped him get better. Why would anyone act like that this is, stuff you would find in a pigsty? It's just stupid. I mean, and it's completely unrealistic. And you know what, though? Again, it's the Cardinals' fault because they've got to this place through their own neglect and lack of intelligence. So they deserve people raising hell about them. But I'm just saying, if you strengthen your rotation in an impressive way, but you also tell me Zach Thompson's going to be your 5th starter, I'm not going to stroke out, okay? You can, I'm not.
You ask me right now, Zach Thompson's part of my rotation already. He's part of – you can figure out what the rest is, but he deserves that opportunity. What I like about him from last year as he developed, you saw a little bit of backbone in him.
Oh, no doubt.
And what have we talked about? One of the things that doesn't seem to be part of this rotation last year was, well, where's a guy with a little backbone in him? He seemed to have it. Let him go out there and – I mean, if he's awful,
if he earns it,
he's got to
pitch
different.
well.
But if he pitches, like you said, down the stretch and pretty well, he deserves that opportunity to be the 5th guy or one of those guys that throw out there every 5th day, and then you supplement elsewhere. I'm not telling you he's the number 1 starter, but he deserves to be part of that equation, because that equation, as you just went through, is going to entail a lot of different parts, a lot of different puzzle pieces, and. Yeah, I'd love to have Aaron Nola because I think he's also brings that backbone that we're talking about for.
Yeah,
I'd
go for him for sure.
But if they don't get him, because if he does become available, all those teams that we know and we keep mentioning, they're going after him too. And I don't have confidence right now that the Cardinals would be able to outbid all those other teams, and then you factor in the intangibles of, well, why would he come to St. Louis over Los Angeles?
Right.
Or when I don't see it there. It's just my thought on it. If they get lucky and something that we don't know about, Aaron Nola wants to be a Cardinal, great. But if not, let's just say he goes somewhere else. It's not Philadelphia.
Right.
Guess what Philly's going to do? The guys that are left, they want another guy to replace Aaron Nola. They're going after one of the guys at the Cardinals. And they're a team that wants to win now, and they're going to spend big bucks to get him. So that makes that task for the Cardinals that much tougher.
It does. Just think about this. Again, I'm going to lay it out again, but I'm going to be brief and wrap it up because we need a break. It's going to be Category A, Category B, Category C, Category D, let's say, and they're going to be finding pitchers in all those different categories. And everybody thinks everybody they bring in here has got to be Category A, as an A grade. Doesn't work that way. One of the reasons, because there's the supply is thin.
Yep.
And I say this a million times, all the big boys, I mean the big shooters, just so happens they're all hungry for starting pitching.
Yep.
So even if you wanted to have get 3 starters from Category A, it ain't going to happen. You can't get all of them.
Absolutely not.
I was reading something today, and I can't remember where, and it doesn't matter, but it's all right. Okay, here's how I see the winter going. It was like Nola. Here's what the Cardinals, should do. And Nola, Gray, Dylan Cease.
All of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
might have had a Shane Bieber in there or something
okay,
too.
yeah.
You know, all these guys.
trade for Bieber.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to take a run at that great Orioles rotation with that group, right?
I tell you what, man. Anyway, I apologize for being a little obnoxious here, but I'm just kind of, I listen, man, if the Cardinals don't do their part to make this thing a lot better, I'll be raising hell. You don't have to prompt me. And my record on this is pretty damn solid. Raising hell all season. To the point where, down there it's just like, what's wrong with him? He's just so critical. And people asking my media friends, it's like, well, what is he? Is he all right? What do you mean? He just raises hell like every day. Yeah. You had your fourth worst season since 1947. You expected me to what? Throw you a banquet and hand out awards? I don't know what anybody else says. Here's my president of baseball operations of the year. You can't do a better job than what we saw from John Mazzalek. Is that what you like? What did the Cardinals people expect? They got it so easy in this town. In terms of media, it's like, so when you have a guy like me that, just constantly raises hell about stuff, they think that it's like I'm like deranged or something. It's like, well, he's really just gone off the deep end. No, I've actually never been happier. I just recognize that somebody's going to have to like really raise hell about the way things are down there, and I don't do it irresponsibly or with a cavalier attitude. I do it because I really mean it, and I back it up with stats, facts, and I think reasoned analysis. And oh, by the way, I'm really, really happy to praise them when they do well. But they've made a complete mess out of this pitching situation. And everybody warned them. Everyone in the media, a large percentage of the fans, been warning them for 3-4 years. They kept doing the same thing over and over again, and finally the whole damn bottom fell out.
It caught up with them.